Good morning, everyone. It's Sunday, November 9th, and it's official. Boston Mayor Michelle Wu will serve another term. She is here in the chair this morning to talk about her top priorities and more. Let's go on the record.
From WCVB Channel 5, the inside word from Washington to Beacon Hill. Today's newsmakers are going on the record.
Welcome to OTR, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. I'm Matt Harding.
And I'm Charmin Sacchetti. And joining us today, Democratic Boston Mayor Michelle Wu. Thanks for being here.
Nice to see you both.
Great to see you, Mayor. And you're always welcome as a chair here on OTR. So let's start with the re-election. You easily won re-election. In the end, you ended up running unopposed, and you started out the year having a baby. It's quite a year old, by the way. And then you were called to Congress to testify. A well-funded challenger got into the race before dropping out, and it's now official that you did win. So that's a quick summation of the year. What has the year been like for you?
It's been a little of a whirlwind personally. So our number 3 in our family, baby Mira, is now almost 10 months old. She has 2 little teeth, and she was born a week before this current federal administration was inaugurated. So we've had a little bit of the milestone set against all that's happening in the world right now. And I hear from our families all across the city also how much of a stressful whirlwind it's been. Grocery costs going up, just feels like one attack after another on our city. But we have made a choice in the election that Boston is going to move forward, and we've gotten a lot done, have a lot more to do.
And you won easily. You've really never had more political capital or power, frankly. You helped, not only did you win, but you also helped your allies on the city council secure seats as well. You do have a lot of power. Do you think that that's good for the city? Being a former city councilor yourself, is that good for the city to have the mayor and the city council all swimming in the same direction?
Well, look, the city of Boston for almost 400 years at this point has never been a place that any single voice can dominate. And you can be sure that when I or any of our councilors or elected officials are out and about at monthly neighborhood association meetings or a church visit or even just going to the grocery store, we hear the huge variety of opinions that Bostonians have. Very strong, determined, passionate constituents.
So are they who kind of keeps that power in check?
Yeah, and I think what we see now, to the extent that it feels that there's pretty strong alignment between our city administration and the council, and I would say really in some ways across the board, city, state, federal, and Massachusetts for the most part, it is because we are under such an intense moment of pressure. And our residents are very clear. Boston is a place where we can still get things done. We need to keep moving forward. We're not going to let ourselves get pushed back, whether that's on public education or jobs of the future or just standing up for our basic rights and values and who we are as a community. This is a city that is very clear who we are.
But history is sprinkled with powerful mayors of Boston. You don't have to go too far back to find Tom Menino was a powerful person. It can be a powerful position to be the mayor of Boston, no?
I got to get my start working under Mayor Menino. I was in the car with him. I would get to chat with him on lazy Friday afternoons when it was a slow moment. And what he always said was that government is about helping people. And at the end of the day, to the extent that you call it power, call it municipal authority, it's only as good as you're trying to be a platform to make people's lives better and to be a force that can help direct all of the energy that's in our community to come together and, again, get things done, keep moving forward.
Let's talk about some of those things. Housing, transportation, schools, cost of living, they're all pressing issues. And of those I mentioned, do you triage them? What are your priorities? Or is the whole thing in the same basket? Are they all priorities?
Yeah, I still say 100 times a day, I am fighting to make Boston a home for everyone. That means families of every culture, every generation, in Boston should be living in the safest, greenest, most family-friendly city in the country. We want to create opportunities for every family, not just to be able to afford to live here, to have housing that they can thrive in, but to have jobs that can sustain their family, to move around our city, and to go to our museums for free with every single child growing up in the city of Boston. Learn how to ride a bike, learn to swim, go to the best schools in the country. We deserve for our residents to have access to everything that makes a family complete, and we have the resources to do it.
Last month, you reiterated your call for state lawmakers to repeal Prop 2.5. It limits property tax increases in municipalities. Critics say, well, that means you want to raise taxes. Is that true?
No. So I want to be very clear what I mean by that. Prop 2.5 is a very extensive and very rigid set of state laws that means that cities cannot set their own revenue sources in Massachusetts, unlike many other places around the country. And what that has meant for cities not only like Boston, but all across the Commonwealth, is that when we are capped at 2.5% increase in the largest source of funding for city services, and we cannot set any of our other funding for city services because it has to go through the entire state, and inflation is well over 2.5% every single year, that means for every city, just to keep the same level of services, to keep teachers in our classrooms, to keep police officers on the streets, we have to find a way to squeeze additional revenue above that limit. And so having that decision controlled at the state level rather than each individual municipality being able to make their own decisions without enough funding and resources at a time when we need to do more, that has not been a sustainable recipe anywhere across the Commonwealth.
All right, let's get to travel. The Trump administration has said it will cut air traffic by 10% at 40 airports, and one of them is at Logan Airport. It's meant to cut stress on unpaid workers as this shutdown continues. This, of course, is happening as we head into the holiday season just before Thanksgiving. What are your biggest concerns right now about this?
Look, I know our federal delegation from Massachusetts is fighting hard to represent the values and the interests of our community, and we need to make sure that we're not just being rolled over as the federal administration has been cutting Medicaid, has been cutting resources, clawing back funding that's legally owed to cities. And so they're fighting the fight up there. When it comes to the air travel piece, of course, safety has to come first. There's no question there. At the same time, once we start seeing flights cut back, those ripple very quickly into economic impacts. It's people traveling to spend money in our local economy, it's deliveries, it's goods and services, and all of the ways that we're connected to the rest of the world just kind of chilled and starting to get tamped down. So I really hope that we can come to a resolution soon, pay our federal workers, and get the government open again.
Progressive millennial mayors are having a moment. New York Mayor-elect and Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani was asked who was the most effective Democratic politician, and he named you. Have you spoken with him since he won?
We've exchanged some messages, but I haven't gotten a chance to have a phone call yet. But I am very excited whenever Boston's lifted up as an example of effective governance and as a model, because we've worked really hard over the last 4 years, created more affordable housing than ever before, created more youth jobs, made Boston the safest major city in the country. We're not done yet, but cities really are a place now because the federal government is what it is, and because there's still so much need in the community. Cities are a place where you can still have big ideas and keep taking steps to make them reality. In
part because of your first 4 years in the mayor's chair, what can Democrats learn from his win and your win? You're both wins now.
You know, every city is unique and different, and of course Boston is way better and superior than New York in every single way. So, you know, there's that first of all. But secondly, I think what we see and what I've heard from friends that I have in New York or others who've been following the race is that people are hungry for government to do things again, for government to actually take action that will help your life. And so when there was a campaign that was very clearly around tangible ways that people's lives would be improved, better transportation, free bus like we've been doing in Boston, better childcare and more affordable access like we've been doing in Boston, food access and trying to expand that like we've been doing in Boston, there is a connection to people wanting to see that come to fruition.
President Trump has, of course, criticized him as a communist, saying socialism doesn't work. What do you think about that?
I mean, who hasn't been criticized by President Trump these days? I will say that our city has been in the crosshairs of this federal regime over and over again because we're not rolling over and putting our heads down and complying with their efforts to undermine public safety, to rip away our neighbors who are our friends and colleagues and coworkers. We are pushing back on their efforts to stop life-saving research and to defund all sorts of public good, education, housing affordability. And if that makes us the target because we represent everything that shows that they're wrong, we need to keep speaking out.
Your administration has tried to tackle the substance use and homelessness crisis at Mass and Cass. A top administration official says the city may pivot away from the harm reduction strategy. How is the city looking to change its approach over there?
The opiate crisis is a challenge that every city around the country is struggling with, and we have made some really important strides over the last few years here, building up for the first time an infrastructure that isn't just pushing people away with nowhere to go, but actually connecting them to services, housing, job counseling. Hundreds of people have now gotten their lives back on track because of the pipelines we put in place, and hundreds more have arrived because not that many cities are stepping up and providing this. Every day, every week, we are trying to do better. It is not okay that there are families with kids who worry about their children's safety playing in a park because there may be needles there, or family members who know that their loved one was trying to get services and fell through the cracks and now ended up on the street. In a city like Boston, we have our standards set much higher, and so we've even continued to fix our strategies.
Is this a response to the neighborhood outcry that you've heard?
Every single season, there's a different challenge at Mass and Cass. We have been able to make steps over the last few years because of the infrastructure that we built up. So right now, our goal, clear across every department, is that we are trying to end outdoor drug use. It is illegal. It also facilitates more criminal behavior around drug dealing and those who are trying to prey on very vulnerable community members, safety issues, public health issues. We would not be able to have this focus between our public health and public safety departments if we hadn't already created housing that people could go directly into, a partnership with the Gavin Foundation. So now dozens of people have been immediately able to access treatment beds that are reserved in advance with transportation. So we have more to do, and we're not giving up.
Mayor Moose in the chair, we're on the record. Stay with us.